pull up the gun camera footage. CENTCOM posted it publicly. You do not need a clearance to watch what happened. An A-10 Warthog, a Cold War tank killer the Air Force has been trying to retire for a decade, rolls in low over the Strait of Hormuz. Below it, a cluster of Iranian fast attack boats. Small, fast, cheap. The exact kind of vessel that has kept 150 tankers anchored offshore, kept oil above $100 a barrel, kept 40,000 sailors stranded aboard 3,200 vessels going nowhere, playing basketball on their decks and watching movies while a war burns around them. The A-10 fires. The boats disappear. Since Operation Epic Fury began on February 28th, Iran has made 21 confirmed attacks on merchant ships. Tanker traffic dropped first by 70%, then to near zero. Over 150 ships anchored outside the strait to avoid risks. 120 Iranian vessels and 44 mine-laying craft confirmed destroyed by CENTCOM. And yet, as of this morning, March 23, 2026, the Strait of Hormuz is still effectively closed. Trump had threatened to obliterate Iran's power plants unless it opened the strait by tonight. Then, hours before that deadline expired, he announced he was postponing any strikes against Iran's power plants for 5 days, citing productive conversations with Tehran toward ending the war. Markets surged, oil prices dropped. Iran responded by saying there had been no direct talks, and Trump's move was designed to lower energy prices and buy time for his military plans. So here's the question nobody is answering cleanly. The U.S. Navy has destroyed 120 of Iran's boats. It has sunk the Iranian surface fleet. It has cratered the naval bases. It has sent A-10 Warthogs, Apaches, F-35s, B-2 bombers, and Tomahawk missiles against everything Iran had. And the strait is still closed. How does a navy with no ships keep closing a strait? If that is the question you want answered, subscribe and hit that like button. We do not summarize what happened. We solve the equation underneath it. To understand why 120 dead boats did not open the strait, you need to understand what kind of war Iran is actually fighting right now. It is not the war most people think. Iran has effectively closed the strait to all but approved vessels. Oil and gas prices have surged amid the collapse in Hormuz transits, attacks on Middle Eastern energy infrastructure, and cuts to Gulf crude production as storage tanks fill up. But here's the mechanism. Iran is not running a conventional naval blockade. Its surface navy is functionally gone. What Iran is running is an insurance blockade. Those are two entirely different weapons. The combination of attack risk and insurance withdrawal makes the strait commercially unnavigable for most operators. Tanker traffic dropped to near zero. Protection and indemnity insurance was canceled from March 5th, and all major carriers, including Maersk, CMA CGM, MSC, and Hapag-Lloyd, have suspended transits. While not physically blocked by a military barrier, the strait is effectively closed. You cannot sink an insurance policy. You cannot bomb a war risk premium. Iran does not need a fleet to keep the strait closed. It needs one burning tanker on the nightly news, one hull on fire in that 6 nautical mile corridor, and no underwriter on Earth writes the next policy. The strait closes by fear, not by force. And fear only needs one example. According to Peter Sand, chief analyst at Zenita, transiting through the Strait of Hormuz is completely off the charts for the rest of 2026 due to uncertainty and the security situation in the region. Vessels are likely to steer clear of other major choke points, including Bab al-Mandab and the Suez Canal. That is not a naval analyst speaking. That is the shipping market speaking. And the shipping market does not reopen because CENTCOM posts gun camera footage. It reopens when the math changes. Now look at exactly how Iran is keeping the math in its favor. This is where the zombie fleet concept becomes precise. Iran is developing a new vetting and registration system for ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz as it moves to a selective blockade of the strategic waterway. Ships hoping to use a pre-approved route are expected to have communicated extensive details regarding both the ownership of the vessel and the destination of the cargo to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, in advance of transit. Read that again. Iran is not closing the strait. Iran is monetizing it. One tanker is understood to have paid $2 million for the right to transit. $2 million per ship to pass through a waterway that international law says is open to all. Iran has turned the world's most critical energy choke point into a toll booth at gunpoint. Iran's foreign minister Araghchi told Japan's Kyodo News that we have not closed the strait. He said the strait is open. It is closed only to ships belonging to our enemies. For other countries, ships can pass through the strait. China, India, Pakistan, Turkey, Japan. One by one, nations are being sorted into categories: approved, unapproved, and the price of approval is diplomatic distance from Washington. From March 1st to March 15th, a total of 11 China-linked vessels transited through the Strait of Hormuz. Dozens of vessels broadcast locations referencing Chinese ownership or crew presence while operating in the Gulf region to seek safe passage. Attacks on ships appeared random and lacked a pattern, aimed at sowing confusion and disruption rather than targeting specific national profiles, maritime analysts said. Random. That word is doing enormous work in that sentence. The randomness is not chaos. It is a deliberate calibration. If Iran attacked only Western vessels, the pattern would be predictable and manageable. If Iran attacked no one, the blockade collapses. Random attacks on vessels of all nationalities, including Chinese ships and Thai cargo ships, keep every operator on Earth uncertain, and uncertainty is the weapon. The Strait of Hormuz, Gulf of Oman, and Persian Gulf have been declared a warlike operations area by the International Transport Workers Federation, meaning seafarers operating there are granted additional benefits, including higher pay, and can decide to leave their ship rather than enter a danger zone. Benchmark oil tanker earnings in the Middle East are about $200,000 a day higher than they were before the war started. $200,000 a day premium for a captain willing to make the run. Most of them are still not running. That is the measure of how effectively Iran has weaponized fear with a fleet that, by conventional metrics, no longer exists. Here is the A-10 question, because it deserves its own layer. The Air Force has been trying to retire the Warthog for years. Too slow for modern air combat. Too vulnerable against peer adversaries with advanced surface-to-air missiles. Every budget cycle, the Air Force submits retirement paperwork. Every cycle, Congress blocks it. The plane is 50 years old. It runs on a cannon that fires 30mm rounds at 3,900 per minute. It was designed to kill Soviet tanks on the plains of Central Europe. And right now, it is the most effective weapon the United States has deployed against Iran's fast attack fleet in the Strait of Hormuz. Not the F-35, not the Super Hornet, the A-10. The reason is the same reason it survived the retirement debate. It loiters. An F-35 arrives, fires, and turns back toward the carrier because fuel is not infinite, and the carrier is 500 nautical miles away. The A-10 circles. It waits. It watches. And an Iranian fast attack boat that cannot leave its hiding place without being seen cannot lay a mine. A mine that is never laid cannot sink a tanker. And a tanker that does not sink means an insurance underwriter who might slowly, cautiously, eventually, reconsider writing the next policy. The Warthog is not winning this war. It is buying the conditions under which the war can be won. Now look at what happened this week, because the sequencing of the last 72 hours is not chaos. It is a carefully engineered pressure campaign, executing on a specific timeline. Iranian officials have become reluctant to even discuss reopening the Strait of Hormuz as they focus on surviving the US and Israeli onslaught, according to a person involved in direct, high-level contacts with Tehran. Energy infrastructure attacks and strikes on high-profile Iranian officials, including the killing of Ali Larijani, mark an escalation that is slowing attempts to get commercial ships moving again. Slowing, not stopping. There is a difference. Iran is not refusing to negotiate. Iran is refusing to negotiate while under attack. That distinction matters because it tells you what the 5-day pause that Trump announced this morning is actually designed to do. Trump said the talks produced progress, stating the U.S. had reached major points of agreement with Iran following discussions that continued late into Sunday with 2 senior U.S. envoys. He stopped short of detailing the full scope of the discussions. He said, "We'll see where they lead. Major points of agreement. On what specifically, nobody is saying publicly. But the geometry of what has been built in the last 25 days tells you what those points must cover. The nuclear program, the Strait of Hormuz, the IRGC's future force structure, the status of Iranian proxies across the region. Iran's demands have been sweeping: a permanent end to the war with guarantees it will not resume, a reduction of U.S. military presence in the region, compensation for damages, and a new status quo in the Strait of Hormuz that reflects Iranian interests. Nearly all of these demands would be a non-starter for the U.S. and Israel, and would leave Washington's Gulf Arab allies facing a more emboldened Iran. Iran believes it is negotiating from strength. It is not. Here is why. The zombie fleet is a precise description of what Iran is operating right now. A force that should be dead by every conventional metric. 120 boats destroyed. 44 mine layers gone. The submarine fleet eliminated on day 1. The surface navy at the bottom of Bandar Abbas Harbor. The strait closure has been described as the largest disruption to the energy supply since the 1970s energy crisis, and the largest in the history of the global oil market. And Iran is still extracting leverage from it. But leverage is not the same as strength. Leverage is borrowed time, and the time is running out in a very specific sequence. The mine countermeasure ships are still working. Every day they work, more corridor opens. USS Tripoli and the 31st MEU are positioned to seize the islands that provide Iran's last shore-based firing solutions into the shipping lanes. The Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group is through the Suez Canal. A third carrier's firepower is now within range of every remaining target set in Iran. A small number of ships have managed to transit the strait since the blockade began. Lloyd's List reported that 10 ships have transited by sailing close to Iran's coastline, a route that is emerging as a safe corridor for shipping. The IRGC is developing a more coordinated vetting and registration system. Iran is building a vetting system because it senses the corridor will not remain its to control indefinitely. You do not build a monetization infrastructure for something you expect to lose in days. You build it to extract maximum value during the window you have left. That window is closing, not because of one dramatic strike, not because of one ultimatum, but because the U.S. military has spent 25 days systematically removing every tool Iran uses to keep the insurance market scared. The boats that threaten tankers are being killed one by one. The shore-based missiles that range the corridor are being reached by 5,000-pound penetrators. The islands that provide firing platforms are ringed by Marine expeditionary forces that did not exist in this theater 3 weeks ago. The zombie fleet has no brain, no command structure, no navy, no air force, no resupply. It has drones, a few hidden trucks with missiles, mines on a seabed that minesweepers are clearing, and the memory of what it used to be. The strait does not reopen when the last boat sinks. It reopens when Iran's remaining leadership calculates that what they have left is no longer enough to keep the insurance market frightened. That calculation has a tipping point. The 5-day pause buys time for that tipping point to arrive. And every hour of those 5 days, 10 aircraft are still circling. The zombie fleet is dying. It just does not know it yet. If this breakdown changed how you understand what is actually happening in the Strait of Hormuz right now, not the headlines, but the physics underneath them, subscribe and hit the like button. Every subscriber and every like tells the algorithm. This analysis belongs in front of more people. We will keep breaking down every layer of this campaign as it develops. The next equation is already being built.